Welcome, users of the internet, to another extreme Fire Emblem discussion video. Welcome, it's your boy, Pac-Man, and today we're going to be discussing things related to my Iron Man. We're at the halfway mark when it comes to the run. I'm a little bit ahead as of recording this assessment, but I think it's important to discuss how the units did in Generation 1. Since both generations are quite different, it's not really great to measure across generations. So instead, we're going to rate them by each generation. Hopefully, we can do this at the end of Gen 2. It just depends on if the run gets that far. But essentially, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be rating how they contributed towards solving problems and our army. How did they help us get through the game? So essentially, were they detrimental? Or were they net neutral? Like, detrimental being like, I wasted a ton of combat XP or money on them. Or they basically stole XP and made things harder. Net neutral basically did nothing. Little contribution should be pretty explanatory. I say average contribution is basically like, it's what you would expect out of the unit. So if they generally do nothing, like, I don't know, like a sword unit that's footlocked, I'd say a lot of them will just fall into that category. Unless, you know, for some reason they were clutch. And then there's high contribution, which is basically the next level up, essentially being a little bit more than what I would normally expect out of the unit. Amazing is just another tier, and then essentially the goats is pretty much just going to be the Lord and the next best unit. So I'm going to go in death order and then go with the survivors on recruitment order. So let's start with your boy Ezel. Unfortunately, I'd say it's probably somewhere here. Because we did lose the fire tome. I mean, that's not very important. But it would have been nice to pass that down to Arthur. And essentially we lost a couple of thousands worth of gold because Lex had to help Azel out get kills because he missed multiple times. Now, I did put him in a bad spot when he died. Essentially just wasn't thinking. I probably could have saved him slightly if I had Sigurd next to him before he died, and there would have been a chance for the boss to miss, but unfortunately that was not the case, and we did not get to see the best of Azel because he died in the prologue. Not great. Honestly, I think he got one good growth and that was it, so I don't think he saw much combat. And unfortunately, you do not get any XP unless you hit, so it's kind of important that he hits. Next up is Finn. We put a little bit of investment in him. So essentially, he got to level 8 just by defeating the guys on the bridge and prologue, and then doing a bit of javelin shenanigans on chapter 1. He died because I wasn't really aware of how Miracle actually worked. I didn't realize Miracle only lasted for one turn, and it had to be procced during the combat. So yeah, that's a bit of my stupidity on that part. Also, just bad ranges, I think. Just wasn't a good Miracle range, so I wasn't thinking and just had him die. He got some kills on the javelin, so it's not a big deal. Other than that, all these items get passed down, so it would have been nice to have him as options to be used during the later portions of Gen 1, but unfortunately, he did not get to shine and missed out on quite a fair bit of XP, so he's probably going to be hogging some XP from Leaf next gen, which is going to be a bit unfortunate, but we'll see how he develops next gen. He did get quite a fair bit of defense growth, so he might be okay going into Chapter 7. Next up is Jamka. He literally did nothing. He didn't kill any one of my units. He nearly killed Do. Which would have been very detrimental. But no, basically what happened was I was trying to get the magic ring on some units, and it just kept missing, and then I fumbled the bag because I didn't fucking put Medea in the right spot to counter at 2 range, so Jamka was just the fodder, basically was there to just die because he was low HP, and the boss was just going to target a low HP kill instead of Sigurd, so yeah, that's basically what he did. He did nothing. We lost the killer bow, and that would have been nice for Medea to have, and for inheritance for Bridget, but that did not end up happening, so that's kind of net neutral for him. Next up is Quan. So Quan died in chapter 2. He essentially, what happened was I can't remember which horse unit I pushed too far, or I think I pushed Do too far to steal some gold, and I had to basically block the little place where the big archer group is on the right side of the map, like the upper right side of the map. I mean, Quan nearly could have gotten us the Night Ring. I did not place him in a good spot. If we did, we probably would have got it. I was just a bit scared about, I guess his damage, the damage he was going to take, because I didn't really calculate. And I just thought he would die from the boss and everyone targeting him, so when it comes to contribution, it's really hard to place because while he did do some stuff, it did help us get the bargain ring and push forward in the earlier stages of chapter 2 and, I don't know, do a bit of killing to help Finnell on. I would say that, I mean, he didn't really, he saved Do, so I'll just give him a high. I'll just put Ethelyn there as well. She didn't get to stay as much as we would have liked. We didn't really get to utilize her to our fullest potential. We did promote her, but it would have been nice if we could use her for a bit longer, especially in chapter 3. But that was not the case, and they left early. This means that we sort of missed out on some easier ways to clear chapter 2, and it probably would have saved a lot of units from that massacre. Next up is Alec. To be honest, Alec's job is essentially to either surpass Noish or become the setup for Noish. And in this playthrough, I opted to really push Noish and invest in him, because I find him to be a lot easier to invest in long term, because, you know, there's a lot of items that can synergize with Noish, whereas when it comes to Alec, if you want to make him good, you have to give him like really good weapons, which other units could be using, which is, you know, not that great. He did like survive a lot. Like, I think all up he survived like 5 combats that he could have died to, so honestly, for that alone, I'll just put him in high. Like, obviously we're in a time crunch for chapter 1, and there was obviously some areas where Alec was actually used in chapter 3 as well. I don't think he got much clicks in chapter 1, so giving him this high contribution is probably just because the guy was cracked and made our Noish really fucking good, Next up is Beowulf. I'll just put him here for a sec. So, we recruited him. We spent 10k gold. I think we used Alex gold to recruit him. He helped us get the hordes defeated. Oh, actually, this is incorrect, is it? No, that's right. No, that's right. So he helped us get through during the later portions of Chapter 2. But honestly, he didn't really get to achieve much. I gave him the bargain ring. So, essentially, we lost the bargain ring. Because the only way we were going to get that back is if we invested in Claude in the next chapter. But we had so many female deaths that it wasn't a priority to get him back. And then, well, Claude died. So, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. So we lost the bargain ring on him. He didn't really stay around for very long. I'm gonna be honest. I'm just gonna put him in fucking detrimental. He stole XP, bro. He stole XP. He's like, when we lost the bargain ring. Obviously, we could have gotten it back if we revived him, but I didn't feel that it was necessary. And we already spent so much on the Noish and Lacus' pairing that he would just didn't really help us out. Hoyland or Hulain. I mean, you've got a fucking sword unit. Like, what are you supposed to do with him? I mean, he contributed slightly. Again, much like fucking Beowulf. We didn't give him any items. He basically didn't do anything. He wasn't a father. He died, obviously. His biggest contribution would have been to pair up with Ira, but we didn't do that. So, I mean, he was cannon fodder, so the run could continue. So I'll at least put these guys back up. They at least did something. Because that massacre, essentially, it killed a lot of people. It killed Hoyland. It killed Sylvia, Ira, and Beowulf. So it killed a lot of people, basically in one turn. And straight after, we lost your boy, Medir. Medir was actually really good. He actually came in clutch for Chapter 1, because I didn't really have any solutions, because everyone was fucking missing. And he killed the Chapter 1 end boss. He also just kind of helped out across the different areas of the rest of the chapters that he was around for. It would have been nice to see him grow a bit more, but obviously when you miss out on the killer bow from Medir, he's not going to really get far. If he did have the killer bow, he probably would have survived, or if I had better positioning. But he unfortunately died in the massacre that was Chapter 2. All because of one bad dancer fucking placement. Like, what the hell? I'll just give him high and put him above Alec, just for killing a boss. In a clutch situation. Claude. I'll just put him up in amazing. Obviously, in an Iron Man, when you have a few deaths, you're going to need to revive some people, and it was very imperative to revive a lot of people in Chapter 3. We revived Ira, so we get the Brave Sword. We revived Sylvia, so we can get back the Miracle Sword. For some reason that I had it on her, I think that's what happened. And then we also revived Bridget, because I fucking forgot to move her one turn, and Aranez could not save her in time. And he also saved Aideen in Chapter 4. Essentially, sacrificing himself after I made the poor decision to push her in. It probably would have been... Who knows what would have been better? We'll find out next gen. But I have a sneaking suspicion that keeping Claude around was probably better than just reviving 18. Like, what? Not the greatest choice on my part, but that's fine. So that's all the units that died. There were other units that died, obviously, as I mentioned before in the Great Massacre that was Chapter 2, but they ended up surviving for the rest of the generation. So we're now going to go essentially in, I would say, recruitment order. Is also convenient because Sigurd's the next person to die on this list, so we're going to talk about Sigurd. I mean, when is Sigurd ever not going to be the GOAT of your playthrough? I think you'd purposely have to not be investing in him for him to not be good. While you could argue that Sigurd is just doing Sigurd things, and it could be average, he essentially set up stuff that we needed for the next generation. And I think that's important. I will value inheritance on both the mother and the father. Obviously we need to do that with Sigurd because we're going to make self good. We just basically just hardcore prioritize self on chapter 6 and get into promotion for chapter 7. That's what we did by setting up him with a bunch of rings. He essentially killed so many things that I think he had probably over 200 kills, I'm assuming, or close to it. I reckon he probably would have had, he definitely had over 150 kills, which is saying something. I didn't rely on him as much in the earlier phases, but as the game progressed and we had less units, I sort of had to rely a bit more on our Lord here, so I'm going to put him in the GOAT tier. Next up is Noish. I mean, what can I say, bro? Noish, how many crits he got? He made the crit sword. The crit steel sword. He basically just did a lot of shit. He didn't necessarily kill or do a lot of clutch moments other than, I guess, assisting in chapter 4. A little bit in 5, but mostly just he was consistent in dealing damage when I needed him to, or just to kill an enemy. Obviously we did give him quite a fair bit of investment, but he also got really good growths and just scaled a lot better towards the late game than some of the other characters that are in this list or level, so we'll decide who the secondary GOAT is, because I feel it's fair to do that. Not just have Sigurd dominate the top tier. He also paired with Lachesis, or Lachesis, which wasn't the pairing that I was going to do. I was going to do that with Aranez. I was going to do Aranez and Noish. That's a really good pairing, I find. And I enjoy doing, but instead I did the Lachesis because, well, Beowulf died, and for some reason I forgot about the Valkyrie stuff, so yeah, kind of dumb on my part, but I didn't necessarily need to do that, but because he did and passed down a bunch of shit to Diamant, we should have a pretty capable Diamant, wink wink. Anyway, Ardan, the bench king. Honestly, I'm just gonna put him in average, because see, Arden really doesn't do much. He gives you the pursuit ring, and he's generally just there to kill RNs in most playthroughs, but in an Iron Man, he's really just there for stability. I don't think I really deployed him very often. I think I deployed him in a couple of instances, but it was mostly just to get items. So actually, I'm gonna bump him down. I could have used him, but I really didn't. the little contribution that he did give for his secret events, I will at least give him that. I should probably put him in average, because he ended up becoming a partner, which technically by my standards he would technically be high contribution. I'll just put him in average. He technically was a father, so I'm just gonna put him here. He doesn't deserve that, but because he technically did more than he normally would in a playthrough, I'll give him, I guess, high contribution. Unfortunately, Lex is next on the list. He did very well. He had very good growths. Like really busted growths. So not only that, but he promoted really early. So he basically was noish but better. He does fall off a bit later because axes are kind of inaccurate. So there's a lot of enemies that he just has trouble hitting. But other than that, he's a solid kill unit with his brave axe. He's basically just a one-trick pony. And obviously passed down his stats to his children, and both his wife and himself got a shit ton of stats, so their kids, Ira and Lex, are going to be really fucking good for combat. So if we ever need them to be deployed on the battlefield, they're gonna shred. And we're having Lasse pair up with probably one of the axe dudes. We're gonna have some crit monsters. Next up is Do. This one's hard to rate because he essentially got Lachesis and Tail 2 ready, but he also distributed quite a fair bit of gold to everyone, even Claude. So I'm going to put him above Claude in contribution. Obviously, he doesn't do a whole lot in combat-wise. He did save his wife in Chapter 4, which was very interesting. And there was a couple of moments where, like in Chapter 1, where he just took a horde of fucking archers, nearly fucking died. There's a few moments where dude nearly died based on either my bad placement or just... Actually, all of it was probably my bad placement. Yeah, it was really good. He performed really well. He probably didn't get the best growth starting off. He could have probably propelled a bit further if he did, but that's only a minor gripe. And I mean, while he did not get the best pairing by being with 18, I think Lana and Lester will be okay going into the next generation. I find that Do and 18 pairing is fine. It's not the best, obviously, for Lester, but Lester's not a really good unit anyway, so who fucking cares? Anyway, 18! I mean... She basically just gave Do gold, so I'll just put her in high. Probably a bit higher than Arden. There's not really much to say. Like, she's a staff bot. She essentially just bought people around the map. Healed where required. Gave a few items here and there for events, but that's kind of it. And because we didn't have a reliance on bow users, there wasn't really, or that of magic users related to getting rescue. We didn't get rescue, and we didn't get a brave bow from 18, so we didn't really maximize bow usage for that because we didn't need to, and we couldn't really do it. Anyway, 18 was fine. Just, you know, obviously passed down inheritance for Lana, so that's going to be good. And passed down some okay stats and growths for your boy Lester. Anyway, when it comes to Ira, she's up next. I mean, she died for the cause in chapter 2. So there's that. But she also did give Army the Brave Sword, which is still it's still an average contribution, I would say. She didn't really do much, to be honest, other than I think there was like one combat in chapter 4 and 5, respectively, that she did something. Other than that, I didn't really deploy her or click her, so I'm just gonna say she was average. She obviously passed down like all our swords, but that's generally what she does anyway. So yeah, maybe. I mean, inheritance. I'll just put her up. Anytime a female has to inherit things to the kids, that's essentially useful. Next up is Deirdre. I feel like Deirdre is just it's just average. Like, she comes in halfway through chapter 1, and you get to use her for chapter 2 and a bit of chapter 3, but she can only stay in the castle, so her utility really comes down to, okay, I need to, like, inherent stats onto self, and that's kind of it. Give money to Sigurd. I didn't really maximize the gold that I could have given from Deirdre, because we used silence every use of it, so that's not great. We could have given a shit ton of gold with that, but that's fine, that's fine. I didn't realize until later on that that's probably the better strat than grinding would do, so whoopsies guys, whoopsies. Yeah, so she basically just gave money to fucking Sigurd, and that's kind of it. She silenced an enemy 3 times, and that's kind of it. That's not really much to say. I mean, Deirdre just does Deirdre things. Next up is Lachesis. She basically became the replacement Eflin, because, well, there's no troubadour other than her, essentially, but she's a Master Knight, so it's not really a troubadour, so she basically became a better version of Eflin, and that's generally what happens, but she also had to be contributing in combat, and it was really easy to level her up in this playthrough. We basically just gave her a miracle sword, did some miracle shenanigans to get her through the arena, get some gold, also from dumping a little bit, and then basically promoted her in the join chapter. We didn't get the Night Ring, which is a bit shit. It would have been nice to give that to the dancer, even though she did die. But it's whatever. I made a joke at the start of chapter 2. I was like, don't give the Night Ring to the dancer, they might die. Which they did, but we did bring them back, so. So she did a lot of combat, she did a lot of healing, she had a lot of clutch moments. She had a lot of moments where she was gonna die, but she didn't die. So, honestly, cracked unit is gonna make Dermont, and Nana pretty good, because she got pretty good stats as well. So, let's go with that's fucking good. Next up is Lewin. Lewin did it. Actually, I'm just gonna put him in high. I'm gonna put him at the top of high. And the reason I'm doing this is mostly because of the setup for next chapter. Sorry, not next chapter. Mostly for the setup of Arthur, because he's going to pass down the Forseti. He also did quite a fair bit of combat. There's a lot of moments where I used him as a kill button. I killed the final boss of Gen 1 with him, so I didn't have to, but he did that, I guess. He killed a few bosses after getting Forseti. I think it was chapter 4 boss. Helped out with a little horde there. It's just a good contribution. But his greatest contribution that I don't really know why I forgot about is he got the bargain ring, and he skill procced it. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have got it. Oh, that and Sylvia, but he got it. He got the bargain ring. It was hype. It was awesome. It's just a lot of hype moments for your boy. Just did a lot for the army and for going into the next generation. Sylvia. So Sylvia, sort of a hard one to rate because, I mean, you know, the dancer does dancer things. But I did not utilize her as much as I could have. I definitely could have done better. There were times where I did utilize her. And I did get some extra experience out of her, but honestly, she didn't get a partner, so essentially, she actually has less of a contribution than she normally would, so I'm just gonna keep her an average. She's a dancer that does dancer things, so we didn't really use the dancer very well. Used the dancer to get units to move around the map quicker, but when we don't care about turns, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. Unless we're in a high pressure scenario. She did get her usage, just not as much as I would have liked. Next up is Aranez. I'm going to put her above. Now, she didn't get a father, which is very unfortunate. We actually put quite a fair bit of investment in her when it comes to combat. She did quite a fair bit. Mostly related to the later portions of Chapter 3. A lot in 4, surprisingly. She did quite a fair bit of combat there, and actually did quite well in Chapter 5. It's just really unfortunate that we just didn't have enough barbers, and I didn't revive one for her early on in Chapter 4. Because we just didn't have the money. I mean, I think we could have gotten the father for her. No, the idea was the Claude was going to be the father, so we weren't going to. But then Claude died, so that didn't end up happening, which is unfortunate because we could have gotten Sed and her female Pegasus child. I would probably put her a bit higher if that was the case, because then we would have been able to pass down lances and such, but that did not happen. So she was really just a good combat unit. Tail 2. I mean, Tail 2 passes magic stats to Arthur. Honestly, because I sent Aranez up to help out with the Claude fight. Sorry, the fight that was going on at the top of Chapter 3. I didn't really need to use her for that one niche usage where you basically learn how to set up RAF ranges. She literally just got money investment and was only used for her inheritance. I didn't really use her in combat. I think I used her like for Chapter 3 and then maybe Chapter 5, and that was it. So I feel like she got like 4 wins at max. Like, just didn't really do much. But that's Tinny. She doesn't really do much. No, Tail 2, sorry. It's the same applies to Tinny, honestly. Her daughter. And then, yeah, so I'd just say average. Basically just did her inheritance job. Passed down stats, and that was kind of it. Next up is Bridget. I mean, it's our bow unit. She passes down bows to Faval. She was the only person that we could pass bows down, so I'll at least give her that. Put her above Arden. She got the Uvel. That's honestly, to be honest, she didn't really do much. Like, she did her inheritance, and then killed some Pegasus Knights and the Draco Knights, and that's kind of it. She's a little more than average, which is generally nothing. Like, most footlock units as long as they come into combat, I would say that's a higher contribution than average. I mean, Dancer does Dancer things, but I didn't really... If the Dancer saved everyone in Chapter 2, I probably would have put her a bit higher, but because of my fucking stupidity, that's not necessarily it. This isn't necessarily a rating of how good the units are. It's just essentially of how much I valued them this playthrough and what they accomplished for me. So that's why there's probably some weird rankings. Because Finn would normally be like really good. This is obviously not a traditional tier list. It's more just really discussing of how good I felt they were for this playthrough essentially and their contribution. So we're gonna quickly just rate the second GOAT, the real GOAT that isn't Sigurd. And we really only have the 5 candidates that are in the amazing contribution tier. Normally you would just take the first person in the list. It's really hard to say. They all did a lot of different things. I'd probably say Claude was not it. It really comes down to what I valued the most this playthrough. Did I value a killer? Did I value Lex? Did I value a healer? Or did I value the thief? And to be honest, I'm just going to put him up there. I thought I was going to put Noish because, you know, put so much investment in him. But I actually think that I got more out of Do than I did Noish. Because Do, at least, was like... He actually was doing combat. Which was crazy. He did some combat. He saved his wife, obviously. He propelled other units to get them to a reasonable level. I mean, Do's just the GOAT. Like... Honestly, his contributions across every chapter from his join was just... the reason why I gotta put him in the GOAT tier. He's the GOAT. I love Do. I love using him. I don't have a bias, guys. I don't have a bias. But that's basically it. I'm gonna do the same thing for Gen 2. If we fucking finish it. I hope we do. I think we can. I don't think it's not possible. There's a lot of things that are going a lot better than my first playthrough. And my first playthrough, let's just say, only just made it through. So, I feel like with that knowledge and me playing a bit more careful in an Iron Man setting, I think we'll be fine for Generation 2. When it comes to who do I think, we can probably do a prediction of who's going to do the most contribution. But I actually might not do that because I have knowledge of what's happened post Chapter 5, so I'm not going to do that. Perhaps, maybe next time, because I'm planning on doing a second Iron Man. I will do a analysis of who I think is going to really contribute, and we'll weigh up predictions, maybe. But anyway, I'm rambling. But that's the rating. Thanks everyone for coming around and listening to me ramble about how well they contributed, how my units contributed during the Iron Man. It was just nice to look back on the units and their contributions to the playthrough and just remember what they did. Like, there's a lot of clutch moments, a lot of things that they did, a lot of stuff that the characters didn't do. Just reliving and recapping what happened. It's just, I don't know, it's just an interesting thing I don't think I've seen anyone do. So anyway, thanks for coming by, and I hope to see you guys when I stream and continue on Chapter 8. Ciao, gamers.